Welcome to episode 12 of the Degenerate Football Podcast. I'm RJ Choppy. That's Bo from the Football Glory Hole. We have been rolling in the money with this Degenerate Football Podcast. Seems like every week we just keep winning. I like that. Bo likes that. You should like that too. 4 selections for you today, and then we're going to talk about a really strange thing that happened with the Dallas Cowboys. Let's start with the 4 selections, though. I thought this week these were some very difficult picks. Like, if you didn't have faith in the computer system, you'd be like, what's going on here? Because there's a lot of these games where I'm like, what's going on here? Like the first one, Detroit plus 3.5 against Tampa. I'm a Jameis guy. Tampa is like, they're either great or really bad, and you don't know what you're getting. The computer loves Detroit plus 3.5.
It does this week, and we won quite a bit of money this year, Choppy, with your boy Jameis down there in Tampa Bay. He's covered quite a few spreads for us, right? But Coach Mr. Boombalatti up there in Detroit has his lines at 3-9-1 on the season.
Wait, there's somebody named Boombalatti?
Kind of like Fatty Boombalatti.
Oh!
Yeah. So it's a bit of a weight problem he has. That's familiar territory with the lines at 3-9-1, but they're actually 5-8 against the spread, which means they've been doing better than expectations. Which, that's a good sign on a team, not quite the win-loss he wanted, but good sign against expectation. Tampa Bay is 6-7, but they're only 4-8-1 against expectations this year on the spread. That's a sign of the other way. But on those 4 wins, I think we've caught them all, actually. So that's pretty awesome. Both the algorithms do lean Detroit this week. By the way, Choppy, when they go the same way, 64.7% on the season in the NFL on those. It's a top 5 delta in our power rankings. That's hit at 59% on the season. And this line should actually be Detroit -1 by where the computers have these ranked. Wow. That's where you get the delta from. A couple of trends of this game. Detroit 5-2 as a dog of 3.5 to 10. 7-3 in their last 10 games at home versus a losing team. And Tampa's 1-10 as a favorite between 3.5 and 10 points. So go Lions.
All right, very good. There you go. Here's the next one. It's Washington against Philadelphia. Redskins getting 5 points at home.
Getting 5 points at home. The Redskins are 27th out of 32 teams, right, in our power rankings. How can we be betting on them? Same way we did last week, Choppy. We had them plus 13 in Green Bay. We told you there's no way Green Bay is going to cover that number. The Redskins actually had a chance to win that game outright at the end of it. And Philly, again, is not going to cover this number. The Skins defense has been sneaky. In the last 8 games, Choppy, less than 20 points per game.
Oh.
That's really what's carrying this team to what minimum success they've actually had, but against the spread, been very, very good. Philly's only 5 spots better than Washington in our power rankings. They're number 22. No way they should be 4.5-point favorites here in this spot. And if you play the 6-point game, flip it around, that means you'd have to lay 10.5 to take Philly against the Skins team if it was in Philadelphia. Who are you going to lay 10.5 points to on this Philadelphia team in the whole league at this point?
Yeah, Philly's not 10 points better than air.
No, not at all. A couple of trends in this game. Skins 5-1 in the last 6 as a dog. They've been a cover machine this year because they're almost always dogs. Mm-hmm. And Philly 4-9 in their last 13 as a favorite between 3.5 to 10, right where this number falls.
All right, let's look at the next one. Chicago, Green Bay. Mitchell has played a little bit better. They got a mini bye week they're coming off, just like the Cowboys are. And Green Bay's coming off a game where they barely beat Washington. Chicago +4. Why?
So, just like last week, we told you Green Bay was overrated. We told you last week Green Bay's about an average team. Telling you that again. In fact, in our power rankings, Choppy, these 2 teams are 1/100th of a point apart.
Oh.
So they're right there together, barely both above average. Both these teams did play in week 1. The Bears lost 10-3, a real barn burner.
I remember that. Yeah, great game.
And then those 2 teams went in 2 different directions for the season, right? But now they've come back together. So Chicago went the tank, Green Bay sorted the top. Now, statistically, it's all come back together. That's kind of how the NFL works. The cream kind of settles where it's actually supposed to be, where your talent level goes. Green Bay, this was surprising me, 3-7 against the spread in the last 10 games in December. Mr. Rogers, right? 3-7, not great.
Terrible on third down, too.
Real bad. 3-8 in their last 11 in the division against the spread.
Aaron.
Chicago, on the flip side of that, 9-2 against the NFC North in the last 11 against the spread in the division. So that means that Nagy's pretty much got that division figured out. We like the Bears here. It's 2 even teams. You're getting 4.5 to 5 points. Got to take the point.
He's the Jason Garrett of the NFC North. Finally, Carolina +6.5 against Seattle. This is interesting because Seattle's got some lucky wins in their pocket, and then you factor in that Carolina's snuck up on teams too.
Yeah, so first of all, it's a west to east kickoff. So historically, since 2000, that's 47% against the spread. And you might think, well, that's a 50-50 game, right? I get Russell Wilson. You got to take the quarterback who has the smallest hand since Sean Sharif, right? So
wow, shots fired, Kyle Allen.
Kyle Allen, yeah, smallest hands I think ever recorded. However, 47% is a lot when you talk about where you got to get to be a winning football better. To be a winning football better, you got to get to 53%, right? We all know that. That's 6 points you got to make up, or 600 basis points for all the accounting nerds out there. So,
I don't know what that means.
So you got to start off your 600 basis points behind just to get to the winning level. That's not impossible in one game setting, but it's not the sharp side. And what we do on this show is we always try to get you the sharpest side. Doesn't mean you're always going to win every game. That's not how it works. But if you bet on the sharper side of every game, you're going to win more than you ever lose. Second thing in this game is, remember last week, Choppy, when we told you the Rams were a better football team than Seattle? Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, and what happened? Seattle went out and got boat raced.
Destroyed.
I mean, I think the Rams had 2 turnovers. It didn't even matter. They couldn't move the ball, couldn't score, and they couldn't stop the Rams other than the Rams stopping themselves. Well, would it shock you this week if I told you that by the numbers, Carolina was the better team than Seattle?
I mean, it would surprise, I think, the average viewer, but there's nothing average about me.
Yeah. Well, it should shock you because they're not. I was just setting that up for a tease.
Okay.
But Seattle is actually a 0 delta on a neutral field, which means they are the definition, Choppy, of an average team.
Wow.
Average teams this late in the year usually don't go on the road and win by 7 points, is what you're going to have to do here in Carolina. On top of that, Carolina's 7-3 against the spread in the last 10 versus a winning team. And Seattle, 3-7-1 as a road favorite, a 3.5 to 10. And that right there, what that correlates to is going right back to them being an average team. Because if you think about Seattle before this year, their record was right about an average team, right? Nothing's changed statistically about this team. Nothing. The only difference is, like you said, they've got a lot. They've won almost every coin flip that they've played in, and that is the difference between Seattle this year and Seattle every other year. They're the same football team, a little better here, a little worse there, whatever. They're an average team, laying 7 points. We like Carolina.
All right, so those are the 4 games: Detroit plus 3.5, Washington plus 5, Chicago plus 4, Carolina plus 6.5. Now, let's get to this one: the Cowboys and the Rams. Dallas opened as a 4-point favorite. By Monday, it was a pick'em. By Tuesday, the Rams were favored, and now the Rams are favored by a point and a half, depending on where you can get it. What the heck happened here? Usually you only see movement like this is if a quarterback gets hurt. That's it. There's no other reason.
Absolutely. So by the numbers, by the power rankings, we were actually ready to bet the Cowboys in this game. However...
Wait, you were going to bet the Cowboys -4?
No, not at that point.
Right.
But when it flipped around, when we put the thing to the computer, the number spit out, take the Cows. Well, we also always look at kind of surrounding factors or whatever. And to your point, this game stinks, Choppy. It stinks. The Cowboys are the better football team. They're, by every stat you want to look at.
Cowboys are.
They are. They're half a point better than the Rams in our power rankings. And if you want to say, are you accurate with your power rankings, it opened at where? Cows -4. They're half point better. You give them 3 points at home, that's 3.5. That's half a point delta. Any other week, we would have saw that game and went right on by it. No action, no value, right? But all of a sudden, like you said, the line has moved 3.5 points the other way. Or no, sorry, 5.5 points the other way.
Yeah.
So 5-point movement. You got to think, okay, first thing you get at why? What factors would, like you said, quarterback injury?
Quarterback injury, the entire offensive line's out.
Cluster injuries, something like that. To my knowledge, there's been nothing like that. I don't think Zeke got another nose ring. No kind of factors
Could
like
lay
that.
him down.
It could.
I'm thinking of getting one myself.
The only thing, if you follow the trends and follow the money, the only thing that I could even put together is somebody or some people in the know that have the power to move and change lines by money, which there are things in Vegas called syndicates, and that's a group of people that kind of go in all in on the system, all in together. They lay money down all over town, and when a couple of those start getting together and start moving lines, that's because they either know something or somebody's told them something somewhere.
We need to become a syndicate, like our own selves. You and I, we should be a syndicate.
I agree.
Can we do that? How do you become a syndicate? Do you You got to get like an LLC. You got to go to Delaware. What do you got to do?
No, you don't really want that kind of thing on the books.
Okay.
What you needed to have is a lot of good inside information and a whole lot of cash laying around. You pretty much get yourself sitting
I don't have
and,
that,
and a bunch of runners.
All right, I'm out.
The only thing that I can think of that would lead this to is if there's somebody telling them somewhere that this team is ready to go, whatever it was, 2008, 2009 Green Bay, and just quit on this. And just quit
2010. They're either ready to quit on the coach, ready to go to Cabo, ready to go and just make some tea times, make some fishing trips.
And I know that's a bold statement, and I haven't heard anybody else statement or say it, right? But when you're handicapping football games, sometimes you have to take a chance of looking foolish, and you really just have to follow the money. And the money's going the other way. There's no real reason for the money to go the other way. Again, Cowboys haven't lost anybody. Cowboys statistically are the better team. I know the Cowboys aren't playing as good right now, and the Rams are playing better, but that doesn't make 5 points of movement.
No.
That does not make 5 points of
movement.
movement.
1.5 points, maybe.
Right. So that's the only thing that I can think of. We will see on Sunday if this team gives effort, if this team gives effort on both sides of the ball and for 4 quarters.
Is it possible the Vegas odds makers are just wrong with their initial bet?
So,
Or is there such a thing?
No, there is definitely such a thing, but not by our power rank. By our power rankings, like we said, it should have been 3.5. They put it at 4, which they usually factor about half one in for a popular team like Cowboys, Green Bay, Steelers. The public coming in going to bet the Cowboys anyway, so they give a little bit of cushion. But for them to be 5.5 points off of what every bit of, because they use the same data that we do basically to set lines, and like we've told you, they move for an injury or public conjecture or whatever, or wherever they think they can get the market price at. So if you're talking about half a point off of what it should have been by the numbers, now it's all the way back the other way. And you know people are going to bet the Cowboys, like they can't be begging for money. Like they're not doing it to beg for money. So something is there that nobody, and the funny thing is nobody is talking about this as even a possibility. So something to keep your eye on.
That's great stuff. You can only get that here. You can't get that anywhere else. I mean, this is amazing what these guys are able to do. And that little knowledge bomb they just dropped, that something's up. Because it doesn't make any sense. Unless people know something about Dak's hand that we don't know, right? Nothing makes any sense here. So there you go. Stay away, right? We're staying away?
Staying away from that game.
Staying away from the Rams and the Cowboys. Because if it was Rams plus 1.5 and there was no this whole thing, this 5.5 point swing, you would take the Cowboys, right?
Oh, we'd be slamming the Cowboys. They'd be a top 5 delta. Absolutely.
Wow. Very nice. All right. He is Bo from the Football Glory Hole. I'm RJ Choppy, at RJ Choppy on Twitter. You obviously are watching this on 105thethefan.com. You can always catch out the show. Catch out the show? That doesn't really make sense. You can always check out the show on 105 to the Fan, Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 10. Myself and Sean Sharif. And Bo, where can you get all the Football Glory Hole stuff?
At FBall Glory Hole on Twitter, and you can find our podcast, the Football Glory Hole Podcast, anywhere, and I mean anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Let's make some money this week, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, men and women, children of all ages, whatever you want to say. Girls, men, boys, kids, cousins, aunts, uncles. Let's make some money with the Football Degenerate Podcast.